Very honored and very excited to introduce to you Mr. Matthew Kelly.
Thanks. Thank you. Multiple dollars per word. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. How are you? We'll see. How's the week going? Who's ready to build a bigger future? Once upon a time, there was a investment banker, lived in New York City, made tons of money, was very successful, but he had a very busy, noisy, stressful life. So once a year, he used to leave New York City, used to go down to Mexico. He spent a couple of weeks in Mexico in this small coastal fishing village. And just shut it down, just relax, took it easy. And one day, he's walking into the village around lunchtime, and he noticed that there was a fishing boat coming into dock. He thought this was strange because most of the fishermen used to stay out there most of the day. Used to go out early in the morning, catch fish all day long, come back late in the afternoon, clean their fish. But there's one fisherman, he was coming into dock around lunchtime, so he walked over to the dock where this fisherman was about to dock his boat, and he looked in the boat. There's a bunch of large yellowfin tuna fish and just one fisherman. And he said to the fisherman, "How long did it take you to catch those fish?" The fisherman said, "Not very long." The American said, "Well, is there something wrong with your boat?" The fisherman said, "Nothing wrong with the boat, 26 years, never had a problem with it." The American said, "Well, it's not even lunchtime. I mean, why don't you stay out there longer and catch more fish?" Fisherman's smart. He said, "I got plenty for what we need right now. Some of them we can eat, some of them we can sell, some of them we can trade, get the other things we need." The American said, "But it's not even lunchtime. What do you do with the rest of your time?" Fisherman said, "Well, I like to sleep late in the morning. And then I fish a little, mostly just for the pleasure of fishing. In the afternoon, I take siesta with my wife, play with my kids. In the evenings, I have dinner with my family. And then when my kids are sleeping, I stroll into the village to this little bar where I sip wine and play guitar with my amigos." The American said, "I am a Harvard MBA, and I can help you." The fisherman was a polite man. So he humored the American. He said, "Really, how can you help me?" The American said, "You should fish longer every day. You'll catch more fish, you'll make more money. You can buy a bigger boat. With the bigger boat, you'll catch even more fish, make even more money. And you can buy another boat." Fisherman said, "I can't fish with two boats." The American said, "Then you can hire another guy to fish with that boat. Before you know it, you'll have a whole fleet of boats, and you can hire every man in the village to work for you to fish with your boats." Fisherman said, "But what then?" The American said, "We're just getting started. After a while, you can cut out the middleman and you can sell your fish straight to the cannery. A while after that, you'll be able to cut out the cannery, and then you can leave this small coastal village. You can leave this small coastal fishing village and you can move to Mexico City and you can buy the cannery, and then you can control the product and the process and the distribution. You can ship your fish all up into the Americas and all down into Asia." Fisherman said, "But what then?" The American said, "Well, then when the time is just right, you can move to New York City because that's the center of the business world. If you really want to expand your empire, that's where you got to do it. You got to come to New York." Fisherman said, "But what then?" The American said, "When the time is just perfectly right, you can sell your company stock to the public. You can offer an IPO and you will make millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars." The fisherman said, "Millions?" The American said, "More money than you ever dreamt you could earn in 100 lifetimes." The fisherman said, "Well, how long would that take?" The American said, 15, 20 years at the most. The fisherman said, "But what then?" The American was stumped, didn't know what to say. But then a light bulb went off in his head. He said, "Well, then you could move to a small coastal fishing village." Who would like the life of the fisherman? Anybody like the life of the fisherman? Yeah, when we hear the story, there's something attractive about the fisherman's life. But the truth is, there's not a single person in this room who really wants the life of the fisherman. Why? Fisherman doesn't have a phone. Fisherman doesn't have electricity. Fisherman doesn't have a cell phone. Fisherman's never been on the internet. Fisherman has no education past the 3rd grade. The fisherman's children will have no education past the 3rd grade. Fisherman never goes out to restaurants. Fisherman has no consumer products. Fisherman has no labels on his clothes and no labels on just about anything he owns. The fisherman has never been to a dentist. If the fisherman needs to see a doctor, the doctor's 57 miles away. The truth is, we don't really want the life of the fisherman. We don't really want the life of the fisherman. So what do we want? Why is the story so attractive to us? Well, the reason is because, sometimes you go to see a movie after you've read the book, right? And when someone goes to see a movie about a book that they've already read, what do they always say? The book is better, right? Why is that? Because when you read a book, you get to pick the actors, you get to pick the staging, you get to pick the costumes, you get to pick the sets, you get to pick everything. When you're reading a book, you're the director, the choreographer, you do everything. But when you go to a movie, somebody does all that for you, and maybe you like what they did it, and maybe they don't like the way they do it. When you hear the story of the fisherman, you superimpose your reality onto that story. But the fisherman's reality is very different. Fisherman's life costs $125 a month. Fisherman's life costs $125 a month. If you have $30,000 and you invest that $30,000 at a 5% return, you can have the life of the fisherman forever. But the truth is, we don't really want the life of the fisherman. And sometimes when we talk about the whole work-life balance thing, it's easy to say, oh, I want the life of the fisherman. But the reality is that's not real. That's not reality. You can have the life of the fisherman, but you have to make some changes in order to have it. The world has changed radically in the last 20 years. 20 years ago, we had a big push, okay? A big push. Big push in our business could be anything. A big push could be the summer. A big push could be a new product. A big push could be sometimes regulators come along and tell us you can't do that and you have to do this. A big push is anything in our business that requires us all to dig a little bit deeper and push hard. 20 years ago, we had a big push, and then we had a plateau. In the plateaus, we'd slack off. We'd spend more time with our families, work out a little bit more, take vacation. And then we'd have another big push, and we'd all hunker down again. And then we'd have another plateau, and then we'd have another big push, and then we'd have another plateau. The world doesn't work like that anymore. And many of the people you manage wish the world does work like that, but the world just doesn't work like that anymore. Today, you have a big push. If you're lucky, you get 75% through that big push, and what happens? You're in another big push. If you're lucky, you get 75% through that next big push, and what happens? You're in another big push, and another big push. The plateaus have gone. They've gone. They've gone forever, and they're never coming back. Like, we've got a bunch of clients who are in the banking industry, or the investment banking industry. Okay? The whole industry is just a mess at the moment. But most of the people in that industry believe that if we didn't have a global economic meltdown in the last few years, which, by the way, they caused, but if we didn't have that global economic meltdown in the last few years, they believe we'd be in a plateau. What they don't realize is, not only have we had a global economic meltdown, but we've had a complete paradigm shift. What have we had? We've had a complete paradigm shift. And the plateaus have gone, and they're never coming back. Where's the problem? Well, it impacts our everyday life, right? It impacts our everyday life. It impacts your relationships. It impacts your health. It impacts your business. It impacts everything. Why? Because we had a bad paradigm last time. What we used to do was we used to burn ourselves out in the push and then recover in the plateau. That was the paradigm, right? Okay, yeah, we're going to have this big push. We'll burn ourselves out in the push, and then we'll recover in the plateau. And then we burn ourselves out in the next push and recover in the next plateau, and burn ourselves out in the push after that and recover in the plateau after that. That was the way we approached it. Now what are we doing? We burn ourselves out in the push, to burn ourselves out more in the next push, to burn ourselves out more in the push after that, and burn ourselves out even more in the push after that. And that's what you feel. Yes or yes? Yeah, that's what, people have been stealing my yes and yes. That's what I heard. People owe me royalties. That's what you're feeling. There it is on one slide. That's what you're feeling. And everyone else in your life is feeling that as well. They're feeling push, 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 push. We just keep burning ourselves out in the push. And where's the plateau? The reality is they're gone, never coming back. So stop thinking about it. Stop thinking about it. What we used to do was we used to survive the push. We used to survive the push. That doesn't work anymore. What I want to teach you to do is to thrive in the middle of the push. To thrive in the push. Because that's the only way to thrive in the modern culture. Is you got to live for the push. You have to find ways to enjoy it. You have to find ways to make it exciting. And guess what? As leaders, you got to find ways to help the people you lead to enjoy the push as well. And not only enjoy it, but to thrive in the middle of the push. The reason we don't thrive in the push is because we let what we can't do interfere with what we can do. And success sometimes comes incrementally, sometimes it comes all of a sudden, but most of the time success comes incrementally, and success comes by not letting what you can't do interfere with what you can do. Okay? Give you a perfect example. Last week I was in Cincinnati at Procter & Gamble headquarters. Probably everyone in the room uses Procter & Gamble products at some point in their life. Okay, and their world headquarters is in Cincinnati. They have 2 city blocks with 3 towers on it. There's 7,000 people work in those 3 towers every day. And then they bought 2 other city blocks to turn into a park for their people. Okay, so they've got 4 city blocks in downtown Cincinnati. You've got 7,000 people working there every day. Most of them go in before 8 o'clock in the morning, and most of them come out after 6 o'clock at night. And most of them do not come out at any time during the course of a working day. Now, as modern human beings, we realize we should work out from time to time. Yes or yes? Why? Because when we work out, it helps us to thrive. Okay? We work out, it helps us to thrive. At some point, in almost every day, those 7,000 people make a choice to either work out or not work out. But I'll tell you how the decision process goes. They get to a point in the day, they realize they should work out. Now, what's a workout look like? Let's say for most people, working out's an hour. If you ask most people where do they work out, maybe they say, oh, I work at the gym. Okay, well, how long does it take you to get to the gym? 20 minutes. So 20 minutes to get to the gym, an hour to work out, 20 minutes to get home. You probably want to take a shower when you get home, right? Because I recommend it anyway. Definitely, you know. So you got 2 hours. Let's say net, you got 2 hours to get a workout in. Most people at some point in their day say to themselves, I don't have 2 hours to work out today. So what do? They do nothing. What are they essentially doing? They're letting what they can't do interfere with what they can do. Let what they can't do interfere with what they can do. You want to succeed? You can't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. So how do we learn to thrive in the midst of the push, push, push? The truth is, think about Procter & Gamble, downtown Cincinnati, 7,000 people in those towers, 4 city blocks. If every single person from those towers came down at lunchtime and just walked around those 4 city blocks and then walked back up into those towers, the energy in those towers at 3 o'clock in the afternoon would be completely different. Yes or yes? And nobody is so busy that they can't come down for 15 minutes and just walk around 4 city blocks and go back up to their office, desk, or cubicle. Nobody's that busy. So what happens? They play in a zero-sum environment where they either say, I can work out for 2 hours, I've got 2 hours to work out, or I don't. You can't operate in that paradigm in the push, push, push model. In a push, push, push model, what you have to say to yourself is, I don't have 2 hours to work out, but I tell you what, I can go out and walk around for 10 or 15 minutes. Just get the blood moving through my system, get a little bit of fresh air, and get a little bit of perspective. Physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, you've got to think about every single day, what are the small things you can do to cause you to thrive in the midst of the push, push, push model? Because the push, push, push model is not going away. For an organization to be really successful, you need 2 things. Okay, so think about your team. Okay, I want you to think about your team. You need 2 things to be really successful. First thing is you need smart people. Okay, and for the next 10 minutes, smart and talent can be interchangeable. What can be interchangeable? Smart and talent can be interchangeable. So to be really successful, for your team to be successful, you need smart, talented people. Okay, now let me tell you, I'm probably in 300 businesses a year. Very rarely do I go into a business with my partners to consult. Very rarely do we go into a business and think to ourselves, all of these people are stupid. Very rarely. It almost never happens. The reality is most organizations have smart people, and the sorts of things that make an organization smart are things like strategy, marketing, finances, technical skills, industry knowledge, clarity of purpose, customer intimacy. And in your sort of organization, you got to have a little bit of all of that, right? You got to have a little bit of all of that. Our culture thinks it's all about that sort of stuff. Our culture thinks go out, get talented people, put talented people on your team, and that team will win every time. And of course, in Major League Sports, this is like the prevailing philosophy of success, right? When the draft comes, let's get as much money as we can get and get as many good players as we can get, and then we'll win. But it doesn't work. In Major League Baseball, what team is the poster child for that philosophy? The New York Yankees, right? The New York Yankees. So the New York Yankees, their philosophy is, we got more money than God, let's go out and buy all the players we can buy, all the best players, put them all on one team, and then that team will win. But when you look at how much money they spend proportionally on talent compared to other teams, that team almost never wins. I mean, they won when was the last time the Yankees won the World Series? Anyone know? 2009. And before that, it was 8 years, right? Okay, so here's the thing. In 2010, we're in Texas, let's talk Texas. 2010, the Yankees lost to Texas in the playoffs. You remember that, New Yorkers? Remember that well? Does anybody know what does anyone know what the Yankees' opening day budget for talent was in 2010? Anybody want to stagger a guess? $227 million. $227 million. They got it handed to them by Texas. Anybody want to take a guess at what Texas's opening day budget was in 2010? $41 million. Okay? Can you imagine spending $227 million on talent, sending them out on a baseball field and having it handed to them by a team that spent $41 million? But it happens all the time in Major League. My philosophy is that when we watch a game on TV, like, you know, up in the top where they have the two teams, they should also have how much money they spent on that team. You know? So instead of having the Yankees versus Texas this week, we've got the $241 million team against the $41 million team. Because it becomes laughable. Yes or yes? So how does a team that only has $41 million for talent beat a team that spends $227 million on talent? How do they do that? They organize that team in a healthy way. For a team to be successful, for your team to be successful, yeah, you need smart people, you need talent, but you also got to organize that talent in a healthy way. And the sorts of things that make a healthy team are things like dynamic teamwork and great morale and minimal politics and great productivity. These are the sorts of things that make a really healthy team. And right at the base of a really healthy team, the health of the people who drive your team. Okay? Not just physically. Physically is big, but physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual. The holistic health of the people who drive your team. Holistic health of the people who drive your team. Because the truth is, if every person who worked for Vector worked out 3 times a week, every week for the next year, you'd have an incredible year. It has nothing to do with strategy, marketing, finances, technical skills, industry knowledge, clarity of purpose, customer intimacy. But if every single person who worked for Vector worked out 3 times a week, every week. In fact, forget every single person. If just every single person in this room worked out 3 times a week, every week for the next year, you'd have an incredible year. Why? Because it would change the energy. Okay? And when your energy is different, your results are different. Yes or yes? Yeah, nothing will impact your results like your level of energy. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We're going to have a look at some of the greatest hits that we talked about a few years ago. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the reality is, nothing impacts your organization like the health of your organization and the health of the people who drive the organization. So here's the thing. Sometimes people like you and I, we're leading teams. We think, we don't got the best people. Neither does Texas. So how do they organize them to beat the Yankees? They organize them in a healthy way. You've got to take the talent you got. You've got to organize the talent you've got in a healthy way to produce maximum results. You look at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay have been in the playoff 4 of the last 5 years, never with a budget more than $50 million. Think about that. Almost every team they beat has a bigger budget than them. How do they do it? 4 out of 5 years. It's not a fluke, right? How do they do it? They organize the talent they have in a healthy way. Nothing impacts organizational health like the health of the people who drive the organization. In many ways, SMART equates to IQ, the intellectual quotient, your intellectual intelligence, and healthy equates to EQ. And this is what you got to teach your people. Because selling is all about EQ. Yes or yes? It's about knowing when to push and knowing when to pull back. It's knowing when to close the deal, when to try to close the deal. It's all emotional intelligence. And the reality is emotional intelligence is falling off a cliff in our culture. Why? How do we communicate? We text, we email, make phone calls on the cell phone, leave voicemails. You know, sometimes I'll get messages. Yeah, hi Matthew, this is Jim. Yeah, I missed you. It's 3:30 in the morning, so you're probably not at your desk. But I wanted to tell you, XYZ. He actually called me when he knew I wouldn't be at my desk because he didn't want to talk to me. He just wanted to leave me a voicemail. He wanted to get credit for calling me back, but he didn't want to actually talk to me. Okay? You think about the average 15-year-old today. What level of emotional intelligence does the average 15-year-old have? The world is changing. You know, when I was a teenager, when I was 15 years old, the answer to every question was fine. How was your day? Fine. What'd you do? Fine. What do you want for dinner? Fine. Teenagers today aren't that articulate. I'm not kidding, right? It's like, how are you? It's like, what are you, Chewbacca? Okay, good news and bad news. The good news is we know this is coming. The bad news is that's your future workforce. Emotional intelligence is important. We don't talk anywhere near enough about it. The other thing is that healthy is a multiplier of smart, okay? Healthy is a multiplier of smart, so it's not just a nice addition. It's not just, oh yeah, I got these great talented people. Yeah, I can throw a little bit of health in there. I have a team meeting or something that creates a little bit of health and communication. No, health is a multiplier of smart. What does that mean? Take two teams. Let's say you go out and you hire all the best talent, most talented people you can find. Put them all on one team. They score 10 out of 10 on the smart scale. But maybe there's a lot of egos bouncing around. They score 3 out of 10 on the healthy scale. That team scores 30 on the smart healthy scale. Okay? Now, you take another team, average 6 out of 10. It's like when you're interviewing somebody and you realize, yeah, 6 out of 10. It's not like you're so excited, I can't wait to hire this 6 out of 10 person, right? No, I can't wait to get this 6 out of 10 person on my team. No, it doesn't work that way. 6 out of 10 is average. It's mediocre. It's ordinary. But you take an average team and you organize it in an average way, 6 out of 10. They outscore the smart team every time. That's how Texas beats the Yankees with 1/5 of the budget. That's how Tampa Bay makes the playoffs 4 out of 5 years with less money to spend on talent than almost any other team in the league. That's how it works. It's not enough just to be smart. Also got to be healthy. It's not enough just to have talent. You've also got to organize that talent in a really healthy way. Most organizations only ever scratch the surface of their collective intelligence because they don't give smart people a healthy environment to work in. When you're frustrated with your work, okay, when you're frustrated with your work, what sort of things do you say to me? You say, oh, Matthew, I could be doing some great stuff, but I'm taking care of all this stupid little stuff. And when your people come to you frustrated with their work, what sort of things they say? They say, oh, I could be doing some great stuff, but you got me doing this stupid little stuff. What are we essentially saying? Give me a healthier environment and I'll contribute at a higher level. Give me a healthier environment and I'll contribute at a higher level. This is what I know for sure. Nobody signs up to sell Cutco who wants to fail. Okay, there's easier ways to fail, right? There's easier ways to fail. Like nobody signs up to sell Cutco who wants to fail. There's just easier ways. It's just too hard for that. And this is what else I know for sure. People don't fail because they want to fail. People fail because they don't know how to succeed. And it's your job and my job to teach them how to succeed. Yes or yes? Yeah, people don't fail because they want to fail. People don't wake up in the morning and say, I want to be a failure today. No, people fail because they don't know how to succeed. And it's your job and my job to teach them how to succeed, to help them to succeed. Here's the problem. Sometimes we get tired and then we lose the energy to help them. That's just the reality. That's just the reality. Health is the greatest competitive advantage, virtually an untapped opportunity. You can't determine how many people come through the door. You can't determine how many people, the quality of the people that come through the door to the extent that you would like to. You can influence those things. Yes, you can influence how many people you recruit. You can influence the quality of the people you recruit, but you cannot outright determine them. But you can determine the health of your organization, the health of your team, however large or however small your team is. Problem is we spend too much time on smart and give too much credit for it, too little energy and resource on healthy. Sometimes when we're talented, then we become dysfunctional. We mess other people up. We think, I'm successful. Stuff everyone else. And what happens? You have people like that on your team. Yes or yes? We let them get away with it. Why? Because they sell stuff. But we don't take into account what is the cost of that person on the other people in the team. Our philosophy at Floyd is that your organization can only become the best version of itself to the extent that the people who are driving your organization become better versions of themselves. Every time you become a better version of yourself, Vector becomes a better version of itself. It's impossible to separate those two realities. We've been talking about the whole work-life balance thing for so long. What's the problem with the work-life balance conversation? It's a myth. It's an absolute myth. Work-life balance is the greatest corporate lie of the last 50 years. Why? Because when we started asking people, do you feel like you've got work-life balance, what are we saying to them? Your work isn't part of your life. How do you feel about that? And your work is part of your life, right? Most of us spend most of our days working. Our work is part of our life. It's an important part of our life. It should be a meaningful part of our life. Okay? The reality is you can't separate the personal from the professional. They are linked. Inseparably linked. You cannot separate the personal from the professional. And this is what I know for sure. We did a research project on work-life balance. We asked 3,000 people, if you had to choose between balance and satisfaction, which would you choose? Not one single person chose balance. If you had to choose between balance and satisfaction, which would you choose? Not one single person chose balance. So yeah, we want balance if we can have everything else, right? Yeah, I like balance. I like to live on an island where there's nobody else, where, these little girls with little flowers in their head peel grapes and feed them to me, Yeah, I got lots of wants, And I'll have balance as well after all of that, if I can, But the reality is, if you have to choose between balance and satisfaction, you don't choose balance, you choose satisfaction. You want personal satisfaction, you want professional satisfaction, you want to know that both are possible at the same time. That's the reality. Think about the most satisfying times in my life. I'll tell you about the most satisfying times in my life. Most satisfying times in my life, I'll give you two examples. One, working a 100-hour week. Have you ever worked a 100-hour week? You know what a 100-hour week looks like? Okay, a 100-hour week is intense. Okay? A 100-hour week is like, you better be a champion you want to work a 100-hour week. Okay? But that's what champions do. Do they do it every week? No. They do it when they have to do it. But I tell you what, sometimes when I've worked a 100-hour week, it's been the most satisfying time in my life. You know the other satisfying times in my life? Laying on the beach for 4 hours doing nothing, or 4 days doing nothing. Just laying on the beach, going down to the beach 4 days, just shutting it down, turning the cell phone off, shutting down the email, 4 days, just doing nothing, laying on the beach and taking it. Immensely satisfying laying on the beach and doing nothing for four days. But also immensely satisfying work a 100-hour week sometimes when you have to do that. Okay, balance. Balance is like something like, oh, I'm going to work 4 hours, and then I'm going to work out for 4 hours. I'm going to spend 4 hours with my wife and 4 hours with my kids, and I'm going to sleep for 4 hours. That's not reality, right? So let's be honest about what reality is. Let's be honest about what we really want. What we really want is satisfaction. Okay, and when we hear the story about the fisherman, what resonates with us is we are dissatisfied with our lives. Okay, in some way, some shape, some form, every single person in this room is dissatisfied with their life in some way. That's good. Work out how the heck you're dissatisfied and work out what the heck you can do about that dissatisfaction. And stop thinking that somebody else can fix it for you, because you can only fix it yourself. You've got to take personal responsibility for your own satisfaction personally and professionally. And you can't fix it for the people on your team. You can help them, you can lead them, you can train them, you can teach them, but you can't give them work-life balance. You know, it's not like an entitlement program. You know, oh yeah, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that, and this is your commission instruction, and we'll throw in some work-life balance. Wrong. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And so as we get into this, what we discover is that the one thing that's slipping away drastically in our culture is self-awareness. What's slipping away in our culture? Self-awareness. Most people don't know themselves very well. Most people don't know what they want. Most people don't know what they need. Most people don't know what's important to them. And so we've got to think about those three questions. Three questions. Number one, what do you want? You want to be happy? Yes or yes? Yeah, you want to be happy, and everybody else on the planet wants to be happy. That's just the reality. Just the reality. Now, the truth is we do the things we do because we believe they'll make us happy. You're sitting here right now today because you believe this will make you happy. You work for Vector because you believe it will lead to happiness in your life. That's just the reality. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, sometimes you got people who do really stupid things, right? Really stupid things. I mean, not just a little bit stupid, I mean ridiculously stupid. I mean outrageously and monumentally stupid. Why do they do them? Because they mistakenly believe those stupid things will make them happy. Mistakenly believe those stupid things will make them happy. That's why we do stupid things. And you've all got people on your team who do stupid things from time to time. Yes or yes? Yeah, let's go back to that slide, the smart and the healthy thing. You know? Let's go back to that slide for a minute, and the smart and the healthy, and let's think about it, okay? When you think about the health of the people who drive your organization, okay, when you think about that healthy side, there are some people on your team who make your team healthier, and there are some people on your team who make your team dysfunctional. Yes or yes? Yeah. And you know what? We have a really hard time of letting go of the dysfunctional people, don't we? Probably every single person in the room's got someone on their team that should be shown the door tomorrow. But we don't do it. Why? Because we do not celebrate the health of the organization as much as we should. You know? You think about the person who answers your phone, director of first impressions. Is that person healthy? Is that person creating a healthy environment? Giving great service? Or is it dysfunctional even from the moment when the phone gets picked up? It's hard to let somebody go, isn't it? Hard to let somebody go. It's hard to say, you know what, you don't belong in this culture because you don't make my culture healthy. We hire too quickly, we fire too slowly. Yes or yes? Hire too quickly, fire too slowly. I'll tell you one thing, I've had to fire a lot of people in my life. It's a horrible thing to have to do. But I can tell you this for certain, I've never regretted letting somebody go. Never, not even once. I'd never come to a place where 3 months later, you know what, I made a really bad mistake. I let that person go. We dread the transition. Yes or yes? But we know it's the best thing for our organization. Get it done. Get it done. Question number one, what do you want? Okay, think about that. What do you want? Most people haven't got the foggiest idea what they want. Most people have not got the foggiest idea what they want. Do you know what you want? Because you've got to work that out, because you can't be successful unless you know what you want. Part of your job is to help your people work out what they want, because people haven't got the foggiest idea what they want. We did another research project. We took 264 people in 5 different companies. We sat them down once a month, and we asked them 2 questions. What do you want, and what's important to you? Okay? 84% of respondents changed their answer every month for 2 years. What does that tell you? They haven't got the foggiest idea what they want. They're not even the foggiest idea of what matters most to them. You've got to work out what you want. You've got to work out what matters most to you. Because you can't have satisfaction, you can't have happiness unless you realize, okay, I really want this. Because when you've got to push, you better know why you're pushing. You better know what's important to you. You know why you're getting up early and staying out late. You've got to know that. Truth is, we all want to be happy. You know, if I gave you a notepad and said, go away, make a big long list of all the things you want to do, have, be, become. You came back with a list. I brought Dr. Phil up here, Oprah, you know, a couch for you and Dr. Phil and Oprah. And then they sat down with you in your list and they would look at your list and they would say, listen, it turns out that you want to be happy, you know, for every single one of you. Okay? That's just the reality. You want the things you want because you believe they'll make you happy. Okay? That's just the sick bit is we already know the things that make us happy. 4 aspects of the human person: physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual. Physically, if you exercise regularly and you eat the right sorts of food and you sleep regularly, how do you feel? Yeah, it doesn't sound like you have too much experience with that. Physically, you exercise regularly, eat the right sorts of food, sleep regularly, you feel great. You're more fully alive, you have more energy, you feel better about yourself, you feel better about your business, you feel better about life. You're just happier. When you exercise regularly, eat the right sorts of food, sleep regularly. Emotionally, happiest people on the planet, people who give focus and priority to the most important relationships in their life. And when you give that focus to the most important relationships in your life, you're just happier. Intellectually, take 10 minutes a day to read a great book, not 2 hours in a hammock. 10 minutes a day to read a great book. What happens? Your vision of yourself expands. Your vision of the world expands. You become more focused, more alert, more vibrant. You feel more fully alive. You're happier when you read great books, even if it's just for 10 minutes a day. And spiritually, independent of religious belief, you take a few moments each day to step into the classroom of silence. What happens? Things start to make sense. Why? Clarity emerges from silence. Clarity emerges from silence. You know it intuitively. You're taking a road trip, you're driving, bunch of people in the car, you get lost. What do you say to the people in the car? Really? You say, shh. You say, shut up and turn the radio off. They say, why? You say, we're lost. Because when you want to focus, when you want laser clarity, you gravitate towards silence. When you've got to work something out, you don't turn the TV on, turn the radio on, put your iPod on. No, you create a classroom of silence. Why? Clarity emerges from silence. You take a few moments each day in the classroom of silence, what happens? Clarity begins to emerge. You get clear about who you are, and you get clear about what's important to you, and you get clear about what you're here for. And out of that clarity comes passion and purpose. Okay? Sometimes we look at people who are living really passionate lives, really purposeful. We say, I want that. How do you get it? You need personal clarity. You need to know who you are, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and what the heck you're here for, and what matters most to you. Because once you work all that out, you get personal clarity. And the biggest thing personal clarity gives you is one of the things that most people are absolutely horrible at. And that is the ability to say no. You can't be successful unless you get really, really, really good at saying no. Because as you make your journey, people are going to pull you in 1,000 different directions. And if you don't know what's important to you, if you don't know what path you're on, if you don't know who you are and what you're good at and what matters most to you, they're just going to pull you off your course. Yes or yes? But the thing about people who live with passion and purpose, they have this personal clarity. They know what matters most. They know what's important to them. So they're able to say no. They're able to say thanks for the offer, but no. And sometimes they say no to really, really, really good opportunities because they know their course. They've got that personal clarity. So physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually, every single person in this room knows the things that make them happy. What's the problem? We just don't do them. Okay? Here's the lesson here. Think about when you're managing people. Sometimes they know what they should do, but they don't do it, right? If you're with me, say, uh-huh. Okay. Sometimes they know what they should do, but they don't do it. Okay? And it frustrates you as a manager. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay? And then other times, you'll like spend all this time training somebody. You spend all this time training somebody, showing them exactly the right way to do something, and then they'll go off and do it however the heck they want to do it. And it frustrates you to death. Uh-huh. Yeah. You know why they do that? Because they're just like you. Yeah. See, you already know how you should live your life. You know the things that make you happy, but you don't always do them. Uh-huh. Yeah, they're just like you. That's why they're so frustrating, because they actually remind us of ourselves. It's like looking in a mirror, and sometimes that's really scary. Okay? The reality is, is that we know the things we should do. We don't always do them. So we have to create systems and processes that help us do those things more often. If we don't recognize this in ourselves, we can never successfully manage and lead people. Because then we just start saying stupid things like, oh, I spent all this money on that training, and then they do it however they want. What's wrong with these people? I'll tell you what's wrong. They're like you. You know? Or I don't know what's wrong with these people. I mean, I told them once. I mean, how many times have I got to tell them? Yeah, let me tell you about that. The first time you tell anybody anything, you should automatically assume that they didn't hear you. That should be the baseline assumption. Customer, person you're managing, spouse, child, whoever, the first time you tell anybody anything important, you should automatically assume that they didn't hear you. Second time you tell somebody something, they catch the end of it and ignore it. The third time you tell somebody something, they think to themselves, this must be his message of the week. He's got a message every week. I'm busy this week. I get next week's message. The fourth time you tell somebody something, they think to themselves, whoa, this must be important because this is the second time he's telling me this. The fifth time you tell somebody something, they ask a question. So you get excited because you think they're interested in what you're saying. Wrong. They're not interested in what you're saying. They're interested in how what you're saying affects their life. They want to know how what you're saying will change their life, their roles, their responsibilities, their life. Sixth time you tell somebody something, they judge what you said the fifth time in answer to their question against what you're actually saying to see if you're for real, to see if you're authentic. And the seventh time you tell somebody something, they might actually hear it in the way you want it to be heard. That's how branding works. Coca-Cola, biggest branding company in the world, spend $100 billion every decade and only have one message a decade. 3 things they've told us in the last 3 decades. 3 things they've told us in 30 years. It's the one, it's the real thing, it's refreshing. Hey, think about it, Coca-Cola. They get all the best marketing people together in the world and they say, listen, marketing people, we're going to spend $100 billion in the next decade to get a message across to the world. Okay? Can you come up with something good? Okay, and the marketing people go away and they come back after 3 months and they say, we've got something really good. They say, all right, what do you got? They say, it's refreshing. You say, no, I think you misunderstood the assignment. We got a whole decade to communicate a message and we've got $100 billion to do it with. They come back 3 weeks later, they think, yeah, you know, you're right, it's probably too complex, isn't it? We've got to break its refreshing down. Then they have arguments in the boardroom for 10 days about why they can't get its refreshing down to 1 word. Now, these people are the best in the world at getting a message across. You're trying to get a message across to your customers? Sure. What's your message? Okay, what's my message? Best version of yourself, right? You're never going to hear me speak without talking about the best version of yourself 10 different times in 10 different ways. What's your message? If I took all the people on your team, and I said, what's your leader's message? The main message. What's his brand or what's her brand? How many different answers would I get? If I get more than one, you don't have a brand. If I get more than one, you don't have a message. Work out what your message is. Work out what your main core message is and start to communicate it and over-communicate it over and over and over and over again because that's the only way people learn. It's the only way you learn. That's the only way we change behavior. 3 questions. What do you want? You want to be happy. Question number 2, what are you here for? Meaning of life stuff. You are here to become the best version of yourself, and the truth is everything in life and everything in business makes sense in relation to this single idea. That's why it's a powerful core idea. What makes a good friend? Someone who helps you become the best version of yourself. If you go through your list of friends and you ask yourself honestly, which of these people are really helping me become the best version of myself, you probably end up with a pretty short list. But then go back through the list and ask yourself, which of these people am I helping to become the best version of themselves? And you might have just a shorter list. Okay, what's the meaning of work? Making money? No. No, you misunderstood the assignment if you think working is about making money. It's not about making money. Money's great. I hope you make a ton of money in your life. I hope you have all the money you need and all the money you want. Okay? But it's not about that. And if you think it's about that, that thought will stop you from making the money. Think about it like this. Let's say there's a school down the road. Let's say there's a school down the road and they need to plant some trees. And I say to you, will you come over and help me plant these trees? We've got to dig some holes and plant these trees for the school. And you say, sure, I'm happy to volunteer. Let's do it on Saturday. I'll volunteer to help you dig those holes for those trees. And we go over there and we work hard, and you do a great job, and you pay attention to the work and attention to the details. You feel satisfaction volunteering to do that. Yes or yes? Okay, now let's say on the other hand, I say to another guy, I say, listen, come on over here, we've got to dig these holes and plant these trees. I'll pay you $10,000 an hour to help me. He says, sure, I can spare a couple hours. He comes over. He's lazy. He doesn't do a good job. He doesn't pay attention to the details of the work. Guess what? He won't be fulfilled. Even though I pay him $10,000 an hour, he won't be fulfilled because he didn't do a good job. You will be more fulfilled even though you volunteered and he got paid $10,000 an hour. You will be more fulfilled than the guy getting paid $10,000 an hour. Why? The primary value of work is not the monetary outcome. Primary value of work is when we work hard, we develop character, we develop virtue, we become a better version of ourselves, and whenever we're becoming a better version of ourselves, we're more fully alive. Yeah. What makes good food? Food that helps you become the best version of yourself. What makes a good book, movie, music? Those that inspire you to become the best version of yourself. Why is one of the reasons Vector is so good? Because Vector helps you become a better version of yourself. That's why I love coming here. Like, the reality is Vector actually helps you develop as a human being. Like if you go to most people in most businesses, think about the Fortune 500 space. You people want to shoot yourself if you got into a Fortune 500 company. Like 3 days I give most of you. Absolutely throw yourself out of a window. Okay, you'd be that miserable. Okay? But you think most people, if you surveyed most people and you said to them, does your job help you become a better version of yourself? What percentage of people do you think could say, yeah, my job helps me become a better version of myself? It's a small percentage. Okay? If you said to people, okay, does your work help you become a better version? Most people say, does your company help you become a better version of yourself? It's a small, small percentage. Don't take for granted what you got here. I'm telling you. One of the reasons I love coming. There's great energy. You guys have got fabulous energy. The organization's got great philosophy. You know, I got to tell you, I don't have a single client who would be holding this event every year for the last 5 years. This event would have been canned in 2008. Okay, absolutely canned in 2008 in 99% of organizations. They would have said, no, we're not doing that anymore. It costs too much money. They would have said, we'll do it every 2 years or every 3 years. Or they would have broken it up and said, we'll do some little regional things. It doesn't cost us any money. You're in a unique situation. Okay, I'm telling you, you're in a unique situation. Try not to take that for granted. Try not to take that. Yeah, it's good. And so everything in your life makes sense in relation to this simple principle, okay? You want to live life? Say yes to the things that help you become the best version of yourself and no to the things that don't, and you will live an extraordinary life. It's not more complicated than that. You want to run an extraordinary business? Say yes to the things that help your business become the best version of itself and no to the things that don't, and you will have an extraordinary business. You want to learn to manage people and lead people? Help them become better versions of themselves. Just say to them, listen, did that really help you become a better version of yourself? Because you can't be happy without that. Unless you're becoming a better version of yourself, you can't be happy. Doesn't matter how much money I pay you, you can't be happy. So let's get focused on the right stuff. 3 questions. What do you want? You want to be happy? What are you here for? You're here to become the best version of yourself. Question number 3, raise your hand if you would like more energy. Oh yeah. That's the whole ball game, okay? If you take nothing else away from the whole week, become an energy fanatic, okay? It's all about energy. You've got to work out who are the people, places, things, and activities that energize you. You've got to work out what are the people, places, things, and activities that drain your energy, and you've got to learn to manage the flow of energy in your life. Because energy is the whole ball game. You know, latter part of the 20th century, obsessed with time management. And time management's good, and time management's necessary, but time management doesn't differentiate from the guy next to you. Time management is permission to play. You want to play at a high level? There are a few things that give you permission to play at a high level, and time management is one of them. You want to differentiate yourself at a high level? Energy management. You got to learn to manage your energy. Because your experience of life expands or contracts according to how much energy you have. Okay, think about that. That's not a small thing, right? Your experience of life, okay? Your capacity for life expands or contracts according to how much energy you have. It's a big thing. Yes or yes? It's a big, big, big thing. Your capacity for life expands or contracts according to how much energy you have. Here's the problem. Most people are tired most of the time. I say it again. Most people are tired most of the time. If you say to people, okay, take out your planner, written or electronic, whichever you like, show me the last day on your calendar, the most recent day on your calendar, where you woke up in the morning 15 minutes before the alarm clock, so energized to get out of bed, so excited to jumpstart the day, get a jump on the day because you beat the alarm clock by 15 minutes. Most people wouldn't even remember the last day. You know, they had an experience like that. Why? Most people are tired most of the time. Most people are tired most of the time. If you're taken prisoner of war, what is the first form of torture that will be used on you? Sleep deprivation. Why? Anybody know? Yeah. When you're tired, you do things you wouldn't ordinarily do. But more than that, when you're tired, you betray yourself. That's what they want you to do, right? When you're taken prisoner of war, the people, they want you to betray yourself. Okay, in your company, in your team, in your country, and whatever, they want you to betray yourself. When we're tired, we betray ourselves. The reason is because fatigue makes cowards of us all. Yeah, fatigue makes cowards of us all. When we're tired, we turn into cowards. Think about it. Sometimes you've got to have a conversation with somebody, right? You know you've got to have a tough conversation with somebody. It could be a child, could be a spouse, could be a significant other, could be an employee, whoever. You know you've got to have a tough conversation with somebody. And the moment comes and you realize this is the moment when I should have this conversation. But you say to yourself, I can't be bothered right at the moment. There's too much going on. I don't have the energy for that. I just can't do it right now. And you let that moment pass. And you know what? That moment never comes back. Because what happens? Well, the next week when there is a chance where you do have some energy, you think, I can't bring it up now because, I mean, it happened a week ago. And if I bring it up now, he'll think I've been thinking about this for a whole week, which I have, but I can't have him know that I've been thinking about this for a whole week. So I'll just let it go. What happened? You turned into a coward. Why? Because you were tired. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're starting to get a bit tired. You're not hungry, but you see those candy bars sitting on the shelf? It's harder to say no to that candy bar when you're tired. Yes or yes? It's harder. Why? Fatigue makes cowards of us all. Fatigue leads us to betray the best version of ourselves. That's just the reality. How's your energy level? If you work nothing else out this week, you better work out how the heck you're going to flood your life with energy. You want to build a bigger future? You need more energy. Can't get more time. You get 24 hours, I get 24 hours, you get 24 hours. Everyone gets 24 hours. It's one of the great equalizers in the human experience. But some people do an awful lot more with their 24 hours. Why? They have more energy. Most people come home from work every night. What do? They plant themselves in their lazy boy recliner chair in front of their 127-inch idiot box with a six-pack of beer and a 300-ounce bag of Doritos. Why? Because that's how they want to spend their life? Wrong. That's the only thing they've got energy for. And we completely misunderstand energy in our culture because we'll say stupid things to ourselves like, oh, I've got to watch a little bit of TV and relax. That's crap. When was the last time you got up from in front of the television set with more energy than when you sat down in front of the television set? When was the last time you got up from in front of the TV and said, I'm all relaxed and I feel like working out now? Wonder if the gym's still open. Doesn't happen, right? You got to learn to manage your energy. 4 levels of energy. First level, depressed, exhausted, burned out, defeated, and overwhelmed. We all experience that from time to time. We never want to, but we do. Second level of energy, angry, fearful, anxious, defensive, and resentful. We all experience that from time to time. We never want to. Third level of energy, mellow and serene. We've heard about that. We read about that in a book. Fourth level of energy, confident, joyful, enthusiastic, and invigorated. Confident, joyful, enthusiastic, and invigorated. How often do you want that? All the time. What sort of people do you want on your team? People with fourth level energy. Who do you want as your customers if you could choose them? People with fourth level energy. Who do you want as your neighbors? People with fourth level energy. Who do you want as your friends? People with fourth level energy. The whole world's attracted to fourth level energy. Who are the most successful salespeople on the planet? People with fourth level energy. Why? People like being around people with fourth level energy. People buy things from people with fourth level energy that they don't even need. Why? Because they just like being around the person. If you get a phone call from someone who's angry, fearful, anxious, defensive, overwhelmed, and they say, let's go out to lunch. You know, I want to sell you some insurance. Probably not, right? Confident, joyful, enthusiastic, invigorated. And places have energy too, right? What sort of energy has your office space got? What sort of energy? Depressed, exhausted, burned out, defeated, overwhelmed? Angry, fearful, anxious, defensive, resentful? Confident, joyful, enthusiastic, and invigorated. What sort of energy has your team got? If I got all your team in one room, what sort of energy would it be? When someone picks up the phone in your office, is it confident, joyful, enthusiastic, invigorated? Or is it depressed, exhausted, burned out, defeated, overwhelmed, angry, fearful, anxious, defensive, and resentful? Because that might be the whole ball game right there. Got to learn to manage your energy. Flood your life with more energy, you'll have more successful business. Guaranteed. To the extent that you create more energy in your life, you will have more business in your life. Guaranteed. Absolutely no obstacles for you in this regard. 3 questions. How do they connect? Well, when you look at the things that truly make you happy, what do you discover? And I'm talking about happiness, right? I'm not talking about pleasure. Pleasure and happiness are not the same thing. Our culture thinks pleasure and happiness are the same thing. Our culture wants to sell you pleasure as a substitute for happiness. But pleasure and happiness are not the same thing. So what is the difference between pleasure and happiness? Well, pleasure cannot be sustained beyond the activity producing it. You got that? I don't know. I'm suspicious of some of you people. Just sort of looking up here, you know. I don't know what you're thinking, you know. I mean, I know what the women are thinking. No, I really do. I really do. I can read women's minds. The women are thinking, great accent. Doesn't matter what he says, as long as he just keep talking. He could read me the phone book. The guys are a little bit harder to read, but not that hard. The guys are thinking, man, what I could get done with an accent like that. Come on now, focus in. Focus in. Repeat after me. Pleasure cannot be sustained beyond the activity producing it. I give you an example. When we eat, we feel pleasure. Yes or yes? We stop eating, the pleasure stops. That's why we don't stop eating. Come on, we're not hungry. 75% of the time when we're eating, we're not actually hungry. Our little stomach says, excuse me, I'm full down here. We say, you shut up, this tastes good. We just keep eating and eating and eating and eating and eating. We're not hungry. We just like the pleasure of eating. Pleasure can't be sustained beyond the activity producing it. Happiness is different to that. Happiness is different to that. Give you another example. You come home from work one day next week and it's your day to work out. I mean, whatever day that is, right? But it's your day to work out. It's that day of the year, you know, and you think to yourself, I don't really feel like working out. That's a shocking revelation, isn't it? So you're going to make a decision. Are you going to work out or are you going to plant yourself in your lazy boy recliner chair in front of your 127-inch idiot box with a 6-pack of beer and a 300-ounce bag of Doritos? You think, whoa, that's a tough choice. You think to yourself, I wonder which one will help me become the best version of myself. The beer or the Doritos? So you don't really feel like working out, but you force yourself to work out. Force yourself to work out. Funny thing about that is, whenever you get done working out, you're always glad you worked out. Whenever you get done working out, you're always glad you worked out. Even if you had to force yourself. Why? Happiness can be sustained beyond the activity producing it. Think about all the people on your team, okay? There's a spectrum of engagement. Okay, at one end of the spectrum, if you think about all the people on your team, some of them are really passionate, purposeful, 100% engaged. Yes or yes? But most of them are not 100% engaged, right? Most of them are not 100% engaged. Maybe some are 85% engaged, and some are 60% engaged, and some are 15% engaged, and some are 12% engaged, and then you got the Q&S people. I call them Q&S people because they quit and stay. They quit, but they stay. You know, that's a problem. You don't have quit and stay people really in Vector for too long, because if you quit, you don't get paid, you know? Like, that's how it works. You can't really quit and stay in an environment like this. But they quit and they stay. You know, in the ordinary world, you talk to quit and stay people. You say, how long have you worked here? Oh, 20 years. When did you quit? 16 years ago. I remember it pretty good. It was like this Friday afternoon, and like I just said to myself, I quit. I just said it to myself. I didn't say it to anybody else. Just to myself, I just said, I quit. But I kept showing up to work. They quit, but they stay. These people are toxic. Yes or yes? Absolutely poisonous. You're trying to get something done. These people will prevent you from getting any good thing done. Okay? One of the things we discover about the highly engaged people that separates them from the massively disengaged people, highly engaged people operate out of a happiness principle. Disengaged people operate out of a pleasure principle. Highly engaged people, when they operate out of a happiness principle, they're willing to delay gratification in order to build a bigger future. I say it again. They're willing to delay gratification in order to build a bigger future. Disengaged people aren't willing to delay gratification. It's all about instant gratification for disengaged people because they live out of a pleasure principle. You need to get people on your team who live out of a happiness principle, who are willing to delay gratification in order to build a bigger future. If you come up against people who operate out of a pleasure principle, you've got to manage them into a happiness principle. If you can't manage them into a happiness principle, get rid of them. Because they will drag you down, they'll waste your energy, they'll waste your time, they'll waste your effort, they'll waste your resources, they'll waste everything that's worth not wasting in your life and in your business. Highly engaged people are willing to invest. Here's the thing, like if you could take, anyone hear about the marshmallow experiment, 4-year-olds? Marshmallow experiment? I think it was from MIT or one of the big universities. About 25 years ago, they did a study where they had these 4-year-olds come into this room and sit with this scientist. And the scientist said, listen, I'm going to put a marshmallow on the table here. You can eat it right now if you want to. Okay, you can eat it right now if you want to. Or I'm going to come back in 5 minutes. If you wait till when I come back in 5 minutes to eat it, you can have 2. Okay? Now the kids that did that experiment have just graduated from college. Okay? Just graduated from college. The ones that waited for the second marshmallow scored off the charts in every area of excellence in their life over the ones who wouldn't wait. Do not link your destiny to people who are not willing to delay gratification. Don't do it personally. Don't do it professionally. It never works. If I had to choose one thing that is more likely to determine the success of a person than anything else, I would choose their ability to delay gratification. If you don't have it, get it. If you do have it, increase it. Nothing is going to impact your ability to succeed at anything more than your ability to delay gratification. You know? You want to be successful in a marriage? You can't do it unless you're willing to delay gratification. You want to be successful in business? You can't do it unless you're willing to delay gratification. You want to be successful at raising your kids? You can't do that unless you're willing to delay gratification. You want to be successful in your personal finances? Not unless you're willing to delay gratification. You want to be successful in your health and well-being? Not unless you're willing to delay gratification. Nothing will impact more. So you look at the 3 questions. What do you want? What are you here for? What do we all want more of? What's the connection? When you look at the things that truly make you happy, they're the same things that help you become the best version of yourself and the same things that flood your life with energy. So why don't we do them? Well, they challenge us to change. And they say people hate change. They say people are allergic to change, resistant to change. They say people hate change. It's not true. People love change. They just don't like transition. People love change. They just don't like transition. Okay? You think about it, when Barack Obama was running for president, I'm not going to talk about politics, so take a breath, big breath. Not going to talk about politics. But when Barack Obama was running for president, he had a sign on the front of the podium everywhere he went, had a big word on it. What did the big word say? Change. What did people vote for? What did people get? Transition. Why has his approval rating been on a roller coaster road for 4 years? Because people voted for change. What they got was transition. Now, whether you like the transition or don't like the transition, that's a political conversation. We're not going to get into that. But the point is, it is transition. People voted for change. What they got was transition. Does anybody in the room believe Barack Obama would be president today if, while he was running for president in 2008, he had a sign on the front of the podium everywhere he went that said, transition you can believe in? Wouldn't have happened, right? Why? People love change. They just don't like transition. What's the problem? Life is transition and business is transition. You can't get away from it. You're constantly in transition in your life. You're constantly in transition in your business. You can't get away from it. Think about the push, push, push. Yeah, it's like that in your business, but it's also like that in your life. Your life's constantly in transition. There's constantly things happening in your life that create transition. And the most successful people and the most successful organizations wake up in the morning looking for the transition. Best example in our corporate culture today, Apple computers. Okay, when you get inside Apple computers, it's incredible. I mean, the level of transition that they deal with every single day in their life and in their business is extraordinary. But the truth is, you don't have to be inside Apple computers to recognize that. Just by being a regular consumer, you can recognize that Apple computers has a rigorous environment of transition. Where's the proof? 2001, they introduced an industry-crushing product. What is that called? Does anybody know? It's called an iPod. Right? An industry-crushing product. Do any of you sell industry-crushing products? No, you don't, right? You sell knives, right? It's not an industry-crushing product. You're not going to like put every other knife manufacturer out of business, right? You are? 2 more years? Most companies in their whole lives never see an industry-crushing product. Like 99.99999% of companies in their whole existence never have an industry-crushing product. They can be phenomenally successful without industry-crushing products. But Apple created an industry-crushing product. Okay? Where are people's Walkmans now, right? Where's your Discman? Like you see some old guy, he's like 105 years old. He's like at the gym with his Discman, you know? You've seen it. I know you have. Like they crushed that market. Like killed it. Obliterated it. It's gone. Okay, industry-crushing product. And not only was it an industry-crushing product, it was a culture-changing product. It changed our culture. Do you know how rare it is for a product to change a culture? In our lifetimes, we will never see it again. It's very unlikely. To have an industry-crushing product, which is also a culture-changing product, is an extraordinary event. Now, most companies would have like been so on top of the world, egotistical, like congratulating themselves for being masters of the universe, they wouldn't have even been able to focus on what came next. Not Apple. 3 months before they released the first generation iPod, they built a new building. They hired a new team of engineers. They gave them the prototype of the first generation iPod. They said, go in that building. Across the street is the team that's finishing the first generation iPod. You've got 90 days to give us the second generation iPod. These are the specs we want on the second generation iPod. If you don't give it to us in 90 days, you don't have a job at Apple Computers in 90 days. They delivered it in 52 days. 9 months after Apple released the first generation iPod, they cannibalized their own product, released the second generation iPod. 12 months after that, they cannibalized their own product again, released the third generation iPod. 14 months after that, they cannibalized their own product again, released the fourth generation iPod. 37 days after the release of the fourth generation iPod, Microsoft released their competing technology. Anybody know what that's called? Zune, that's right. Zune. Does anybody have a Zune? One person has a Zune. Did you win it? I'm just curious because I got a friend that has a Zune, but she won hers. You know, it was second prize. First prize was an iPod. The reality is Microsoft's competing technology irrelevant. Why? Because Apple wakes up in the morning looking for transition. This is the transition diagram. Oh, what have I got there? Okay. FloydConsulting.com/SLC2012. If you visit that link in the next week, I put up some extra resources there for you. Okay? If you put up, whoa. Is that what I've got up there? That's what I've got up there. All right, very good. So if you visit that link in the next week, I've got some extra resources up there for you that you can use for yourself, you can use for the team. You get an excerpt from the book Off Balance. You can also take an assessment that gives you a personal professional satisfaction score. So you answer these 20 questions, it gives you a personal professional satisfaction score, and then it tells you, okay, you scored low here, you should be thinking about this, or you scored high here, this is great, you should be thinking about this. You can do it, your team can do it, anyone can do it for free, just give them the link, and have fun with that. This is the transition diagram. This is critical. This right here is worth the price of admission. This could represent any transition in your life, any transition in your business. Point A, point B. Let's say that you get a new role, okay? So let's say you used to sell Cutco and then you become what do you become after that? District manager, is that what it is? Okay, very good. Point A, you're selling Cutco. Point B, you're a district manager, okay? All these little lines up and down the A and B axis, they're all your roles and responsibilities in your old role. There are roles and responsibilities in your new role, okay? Now, if you get a new job tomorrow, you don't start doing the new job 100% tomorrow, right? But also, if you get a new job tomorrow, you don't stop doing your old job 100% tomorrow. So for a while, you're going to do both jobs, right? Okay, so you're going to grow out of your old job, okay? That's you growing out of your old job. And that arrow point over there, that's like 3 years from now when like some old customer you have calls you up and says, can you get me this ice cream scoop? You know, I want to get this ice cream scoop. Can you drive that out to me? You live 214 miles from me now. Can you drive that out to me because you're my Cutco rep? Drive that 214 miles out to me and give me my ice cream scoop, please, okay? That's your old job hanging on to you, all right? Okay, at the same time, you're growing into your new job, okay? Growing into your new job. You don't do it 100% the first day. You grow into your new job. In the middle is why we have trouble. I like to call that crazy time with a K, you know? How many people experienced crazy time this summer? How many people had a bit of crazy time this summer? Why? Why do we have crazy time? Because of transition. But transition's there. It's there all the time. It's going to be there all the time. We've got to learn to thrive in the midst of the transition. I'll give you another example. What is the perfect example in our personal lives of transition? Anybody? Anybody know? Married, really close. Kids, getting in the wrong direction. What happens right before you get married? Don't say you were happy. What happens right before you're married? Yeah, you get engaged, right? Engagement's the perfect example, okay? Point A, you're single, okay? Point B, you're married, okay? These are all the things you do when you're single. These are all the things you do when you're married. Very different things, okay? Very different things, okay? Keep that in mind, very different things. For me, it wasn't that hard. Over here, I do what I want. Over here, I do what I'm told, okay? Now, as you move from A to B, you're going to do less and less of the things you used to do when you were single, and more of the things you're going to do when you're married. What happens in the middle? Crazy time. That's engagement. Every single engagement. Is anybody engaged at the moment? We got any engaged people? Okay, we got a few engaged people. You're in crazy time. That's what it looks like. You know what the worst part about it is? Our friends betray us. I'm not even joking. You're like when we're engaged, like everyone's excited. This is fantastic. The women are the worst. This is amazing. Show me the ring. It's incredible. Look how big it is. It's probably a cubic zirconia. That's fabulous. Look how good that is. Well, let's plan the wedding. Let's plan the shower. What's going to be your color? What's going to be your theme? What's going to be your scent? Who are you going to have as bridesmaids? You're going to have 7 bridesmaids? There's too many bridesmaids. She's a bitch anyway. Just have 6. It's crazy time. You're going to experience crazy time in your life. You're going to experience crazy time in your business. You've got to learn to thrive in the midst of crazy time. You learn to thrive in the midst of crazy time, you will differentiate yourself. How do you learn to thrive in the midst of crazy time? By flooding your life with more energy than the average person. How do you learn to thrive in the midst of crazy time? By not letting what you can't do interfere with what you can do. Because even when you're in crazy time, you can't work out for 2 hours, you can't go for a walk for 10 or 15 minutes. Don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. And the only way to really successfully get through crazy time, put something powerful enough on the other side of the transition that will pull you through the transition. Most powerful thing in history, dreams. Driven by our dreams. Nothing animates the human person like the pursuit of the dreams. Why do you do what you do? You do what you do because you love vector? No. You might love vector, but that's not why you do what you do. Why do you do what you do? Do you do what you do because you love the work? No. You might love the work, but that's not why you do what you do. Do you do what you do because you love working for your boss? Is that Albert? Is Albert the boss? He's the best boss in the world, isn't he? But that's not why you do what you do. So why do you do what you do? I'll tell you. The answer is the same for every single person in the room. You do what you do because you have dreams for yourself and dreams for your family. And you believe that by hitching your wagon to vector, those dreams will be fulfilled. And when that ceases to be true, one of two things will happen. If vector is lucky, you will leave and leave quickly. If vector is unlucky, you will slowly disengage and poison the culture. But when your dreams stop getting fulfilled, you'll either leave or disengage. Here's the problem. Most of us, we stop dreaming. Most of us, we lose sight of our dreams. Most of us, we don't take time to sit down and think about, okay, what are my dreams? So on your way home from here, I want you to sit down and write out a list of your dreams, because that's why you get out of bed in the morning. And if you've got good enough dreams, you get out of the bed in the morning with more energy than ever before. Thank you so much. Great to be with you.